Alright, peace and greetings, YouTubers. Howard University. Where do we begin? You know, this one is near and dear to my heart because I went to Howard. So I'm like, dang, I don't want to have this conversation because I feel like this is one of those in-house conversations that everybody doesn't need to be a part of because sometimes they're not going to contribute positive commentary that is solution-driven. It's just going to be some BS. But either way, I think the situation is bigger than Howard, so we still have to have the conversation. Plus, some of you subscribers, y'all will quit. Y'all will, in them comments in the inbox real quick, yo, what you got to say about your school? I'm like, dang. Anyway, so from what I've read and what I've gathered, because the details are still coming, stuff is still kind of in a gray area, so I don't want to really assert too much. I'm just going to try to speak on the little bits that I read about. Howard University did some kind of audit, and within that audit, they discovered that there was over $1 million in unaccounted for funds. And this was specifically coming out of the department that deals with those managing federal aid and federal, student money, whatever that's coming from the government. And it turned out, 6 individuals were fired. And I think this was over the span of 10 years as far as that $1 million that had accumulated. It was like over the span of 10 years. But what has everybody gassed up on social media is an individual named Tyrone who allegedly took $429,000 of that money for himself, and I mean just lived a lavish life. Now this is all alleged. Like, I don't want to put his last name out there. I'm not going to post his pictures. Y'all can go look it up because it's all out there, but it would just be in poor taste to say all the stuff about this guy and then it wasn't true. I don't know if it's true yet. I haven't seen everything confirmed. Let's let this blow over and see what the final details are later in the end. But his situation is what really has everybody talking. So first, before I really get into what I think about this situation as a whole, let me just address Tyrone if he allegedly did what it is that he did, and those 6 individuals. Tyrone, sir. It's one thing to steal $429,000, because first of all, that's federal money. So, what's the charges and stuff coming? You're going to be locked up for a while because you messing with the government's money. If there's one group you don't mess with when it comes to money, it's the government. So I don't know what you were thinking. But it's one thing to steal $429,000 from the government. But the fact that you know that money was more so allocated and specifically for people who needed that money so that they could continue in their education, that doesn't sit well in my spirit. Like, what are you doing? And then it's not like you spent the money on stuff that would have been substantial and something that could have, been better for other people. It would have been one thing if Tyrone did like the Robin Hood thing and maybe, he took that money, but he was making sure all his friends were good. Like, all his friends at least had enough money to finish the semester. It still would have been wrong, but at least it would have gone in the right direction. But from what I saw, based on the pictures that have been posted, Tyrone was living it up. I mean, designer clothes, custom made this, Range Rovers, traveling to different countries. He's in Sri Lanka on Tuesday and Bangladesh on Wednesday and Egypt on Thursday. Sitting there and meditating and doing all that other stuff, living it up. Even walking around with chinchilla coats on, big old fur mink jackets, okay? Kind of like the one Whitney Houston had in the Heartbreak Hotel video with Kelly Price and Faith Evans. Remember, she had that big old white coat. She threw it in the beach. She was sick of old boy stuff. She just threw the coat in the water. That scene always used to piss me off. I was like, man, what? Okay. Anyway, threw the coat in the water. He had, I swear, it was the same coat, just a different color. I don't know what animal he killed to put the thing on, but it was like 30 different breeds of squirrel. Had all that thing on, just walking around. And the funniest thing is, there's a picture I saw, and it's like he had some little outfit on I can't afford, and he's standing next to this sign that says Black Lives Matter. I said, oh, activist, deep, activating that MasterCard. But, it's absolutely crazy that you thought this was going to go down. Not, it's one thing to steal, but you didn't steal $500,000. You thought nobody was going to see anything. You thought nobody was going to notice. And then I'm looking at everybody on campus like nobody questioned anything. It just, nobody felt a little awkward. Like, I don't know his backstory. I do know that he was an undergrad student there, and he later was in the law school. I think he's still there now, which makes me question whether or not this is true, because I feel like they would have expelled him had all this stuff been true. I don't know what the situation is. We will find out in due time. But it's like, I don't think he and I would have been at Howard at the same time. If we were there at the same time, I was transitioning out as he was coming in. But man, that is some crazy stuff there. Absolutely crazy. And the thing is, he worked in that department. He worked in that department that worked with the federal aid. So when people were, inquiring about, what do I need to do to get this extra $4,000 or $5,000 that I need to make it through the rest of my semester, he was the one sending that message. Oh, unfortunately, all the money has been allocated for the semester. You have to try again next semester. Mind you, he over there living it up, eating good. I bet if he was staying in the dorms, he was that person that had all the good food. Because, in college, everybody's broke. And then, after 11 o'clock, because a lot of people don't even eat dinner until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. Everything is closed. Those are starvation hours. So you had to live off of your friends. Like, I had a friend that had 2 micro fridges in their room. And they always had Uncrustables, Hot Pockets, and corn dogs. So I knew if I was hungry, I could go down to the second floor of Meridian, Knock, knock, knock. Hey, what's up? You got any corn dogs in the freezer? Like, you know what I mean? But it's like he was the one that was in that office. And it's like you're the one sending the information and stuff, answering those phone calls, responding to emails. And there was one I saw where somebody was like, I think they needed $6,000. And his response was like, all the money has been, allocated. However, check this Twitter handle for more information. I was like, wait, this person sent you an email about federal aid because they need money to finish their semester, and you're sending them to Twitter for answers? It's 2018. I was too done. Absolutely done. Hot mess, Tyrone. Living it up. That's crazy. And it's so sad because that money, $429,000 to be honest, is a lot of money, but it's also not a lot of money on the university scale when it comes to how much they get for federal aid. But that's still at least 20, 30 students, at least, that could have gotten some help. That's still, you know what I mean? Like, that's money that could have gone to somebody. There's somebody that had to go home because they didn't get that aid that they needed because Tyrone decided he needed some designer shoes custom made in from Italy that day. You know what I mean? He needed an alligator skin belt that day, so somebody had to go home. You know what I mean? That's somebody, they done been denied their money. They got to walk out of the aid building crying, and then he's driving past them in the Range Rover while they done missed the shuttle to get back to the tower, and they got to walk. Like, terrible. But the thing that gets me, though, to be really honest, is, like I said, this is bigger than Howard. And I say that because now I got to get super, super deep, so some of y'all going to start hating this video now. As a collective, black people don't get the luxury of being individuals. We don't get to have our own individual identity. Anytime we do something, it represents us as a collective. Anytime that we step outside of that black collective into another space, we're automatically judged on behalf of our entire community. So by him doing that, I noticed the rhetoric and the narratives that I saw from people. It didn't turn into, oh my goodness, I can't believe those people stole that, how terrible of them. Or I can't believe, the university let that happen. Why would people do such a thing? It turned into, that's why you don't go to HBCUs. That's why HBCUs this, HBCUs that, Howard this, Howard that. Like, I'm kind of like, see, that's exactly the same thing. It happens all the time. When you are black in a space, or when you are a black person who steps outside of a black space, you don't get the luxury of making mistakes. You have to always be perfect because you're always in line to be judged, and that judgment will be the representation of an entire generalized population. You know what I mean? Like, if you're the only black person in the store that day, if some stuff goes down, maybe you got some bad customer service, you can't even really pop off on the person in the store like you want to because everybody's judging you, and it's like, that's how black people always are. They short-tempered, don't know how to act. You better not shoplift either, because now, that's how black people are. Look at all the little clubs and stuff that are like, okay, we got a special dress code. No dreadlocks, no dreads, no sports hats, no this, no that. It's like, when you do a certain thing, you're representing your entire race. And it's the same thing when it comes to HBCUs. HBCUs are not allowed to make any mistakes because anytime they make one mistake, it is reflective of all HBCUs. That's the narrative that is put out there, unfortunately. Like, as soon as I saw that story, I knew I was going to see a massive flood of people, even black people, saying, that's why I don't do HBCUs, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not going to engage in the whole PWI versus HBCU debate. I've already done a video on that, and like I said, black people, in my opinion, are needed at both institutions for various reasons. So wherever you want to go to school, go to where you feel that you need to fit in. Do what you need to do to make your life whatever you want it to be. So I'm not going to engage in the HBCU versus PWI. I kind of do think everybody should get that experience. But you know what? Do you. Plus, it gets on my nerves with that conversation. Sometimes people are real quick to, HBCUs this, HBCUs that, Howard this. And then I'm like, okay, well, where did you go to school? Then when they tell you where they went to school, I went to Southeast Western Iowa City College. I'm like, you went where? Some school I ain't even ever heard of. It's not even on any kind of national ranking. And you want to come after Howard of all? Okay, you do you. It's your world. I'm just living in it. But anyway, it's just absolutely crazy. And I think what frustrates me with this situation is you already know what kind of administration is in the White House right now. You know they're cutting any and everything. They're trying to cut as many Pell Grants. They do not believe in letting people have anything for free. They believe that people have to pull themselves up by the bootstraps and figure it out. I remember when Mitt Romney was running for president, and his answer to people who were saying, what do we do about the rise in college costs was, well, ask your parents, ask around. I'm like, sorry, not to go there, but black people as a collective don't have a whole lot, unfortunately, due to a lot of stuff, due to the generational effects of slavery and Jim Crow and redlining and the Nadir period and sharecropping and all that other. We can have that conversation and the residual effects of all that. So unfortunately, we as a collective do not have that kind of money that we can just pass down like some other communities do. But you know what? It's like this administration is trying to find every reason to cut stuff like that. So when you see a story like this take place and you see somebody over here just living large, just finessing every kind of Instagram post, Instagram was lit. I mean, this individual just walking around probably on all the club flyers, living his best life. When they see those kind of things, that gives them justification to say, yeah, we can cut back on how much Howard is going to get in their endowment this year. They don't need it because clearly they don't even have their stuff together anyway. Howard definitely should have had a much stronger vetting process to make sure things like that don't happen. And that's why the culture at many HBCUs and universities, because it's not an HBCU thing, because I just saw this crap at Harvard today where somebody sold $121,000 from something else as well. Like, there has to be a better vetting process. The culture has to change at a lot of these establishments because these kind of things should not happen, because when those kind of mistakes happen, people suffer. People have to go home. I look back at some of the friends that I had who, they were there. You make a really, there's nothing like making a really good friend in college and then they tell you, you know what, the money's just not right. I got to take a break. And they take that break, but that break never ends. They never come back. Or maybe they had to go back home and they go to school at home, or maybe they go back to like a community college and then they transfer to a school that's already in your home state because it was more affordable. Like, there's nothing like watching good friends that you make never be able to come back. Because it leads to that larger conversation of the fact that there's no reason why college needs to be as expensive as it is anyway. There's no reason why you should want people to better themselves, but they got to pay $30,000 or $40,000 a year to make it happen. Like, you're setting people up to stay in the socioeconomic bubble that they're in. That's really the reality of what it is. College is becoming something where it's only for the elite. And that's pretty much, in my opinion, what's been going on for the last 40 years. That's why when people who are part of like Generation X, like the older Generation Xers and some of the baby boomers, when they talk all that trash about, oh, well, I worked and put myself through college. Yeah, because University of Maryland in 1974 was like $1,000 a semester. So, of course you could work at Wendy's and pay your way off and pay college off because you weren't paying $40,000 to go there. But, it's just like, I need the university to get it together because this is not the first time this has happened. And from what I've read so far, I think there's students that are staging sit-ins at the A building right now. There's a lot going on. And there's been protests when I was there. There were protests before then. And again, it's not just the Howard University thing. This is a lot of HBCUs. But the issue is, when things like this happen at one HBCU, it's a reflection on all of them. So this little situation that blew up yesterday, this is affecting Payne College, it's affecting Bethune-Cookman, A&T, Morehouse, Spelman, Fisk, Hampton, all of them. All of them have to answer to this, even though this has nothing to do with them. In the same realm where the whole thing with Hampton was going on with the food not being up to par, that was a reflection on all HBCUs. Because again, there's that one-track mindset where if an HBCU makes one mistake, it's a reflection of all of them, and that's why we don't go to them schools. And But you know what? At the end of the day, I don't care what happens at Howard, what happens at all these HBCUs. That experience is something you can't explain. If you get to live it, it's just something you never forget. If I could go back to Howard, I would do it all over again exactly the same. Well, actually, I would change a few things because I've learned some lessons. But literally, HBCUs, they just build you for everything. So as much of, with all the flack that Howard is currently catching, it does not take away from the legacy that Howard has created, because Howard's legacy is just that strong. It's just that big. It's just that grand. And so Howard's legacy will, little bits and pieces get tarnished from things like this, but the legacy always kind of repairs that. You know what I mean? Because I'll tell you, I always tell people when they say, oh, I'm thinking about going to this HBCU, what advice do you have to give me? I'm just like, as long as you can be a strong person, you can make it. Like, an HBCU will put you through it. Ooh, you will go through it. But the reward that you get when you finish, you are built for anything. Like, even in my current career, I don't think there's been a single day at this job where it's like, I can't handle this. Because I feel like I've dealt with so much more at Howard. So when they're having these meetings and people are stressing out and losing their minds at the meetings, half the time I'm just like this the whole time, just sitting, looking at people. And they're like, oh, there's a budget cut. We need to yank this grant from you and spend it at this. Okay, I'll just go get another one. Like, that's literally the mindset, because after you've dealt with that struggle at Howard, because Howard was a struggle. I mean, there's nothing worse than having a group project and 3 members of your group are not there because they're all pledging. Like, you done did the whole project by yourself. And like, I remember one time, because I was a resident assistant at the same time, was, hey, I had to do what I needed to do, pay for my room and board, because my parents were like, look, we're going to help you out where we can, but you're going to have to contribute as well. I remember one girl, I knew she was pledging because I'd be working that desk at 4 and 5 in the morning, and she would be in and out, sweatpants, running, just random hours. Had a nasty attitude. I couldn't stand her either. But I just knew she was pledging, and she was never in class. I remember I pulled her to the side when she was running. Wait, come back, 1 second. Take these note cards, study this. This is all you need to know for the group presentation. Did she study them cards? No, she set us up, man. I wanted to fight. I don't hit women, so but I wanted to call a lady friend so bad and ask for a favor. I was so mad. But no, there's an experience that you get that I can't even explain it. One of these days, I'm finally going to just do some videos talking about Howard because it was such an experience. But it's just, do better. So we'll see how this unravels. It's just crazy. I mean, it's one thing because Howard is unique as well because there's some very wealthy students that go there, but there's also a lot of students who don't have a lot. And so it used to stress me out sometimes because I was broke freshman and sophomore year. You'd be walking around hungry and everything. You see people just living it up. Because I'm not going to lie, when I got to Howard, I was still wearing my velour tracksuits because that was kind of still in style, at least where I was from. But apparently it went out of style by the time I got to DC. I remember I was wearing velour tracksuits. I didn't have enough money to get my hair braided every week because I had cornrows, so I used to have to just wear it tied back sometimes. My forehead was big as hell. Came a long way. Came a long way. Anyway, we shall see how this turns out. Let's stay updated with everything. Tyrone, man, I hope you got a good PR team. He apparently is a law student, so I hope that law study, and I hope that's going to help you out because you got some questions to answer. And to be honest, I think this is more than them 6 people. I think this is bigger than them. I don't know if that president needs to step down. You know, he wasn't there when I was there, but we shall see. Anyway, I'm out. If you're a Howard student or even an HBCU student, share your 2 cents on what's going on in your situation, your experience. And this is not about to be a bash HBCU kind of video. We're not doing that. We're not. All right? Not today. Not on my watch. Anyway, I'm out. Subscribe.